Hi guys and welcome back to my channel, Bookish Drama. My name is Ethan and today I am bringing you my September wrap-up. I am going to be reviewing all the books that I read in the month of September, so let's start. The first book I read was The Alloy of Law by Brandon Sanderson. This is the first book in the Mistborn era too. You probably have heard of the Mistborn trilogy. This is the second series set in that world 300 years after the events in the last trilogy. In this world, technology has evolved. Now they have trains, pistols. The main thing in this book is that you see how the magic system has evolved with the technology and how it is used now that technology is in the picture as well, and also how it has degraded or upgraded since the events in the last trilogy. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. It was a very good. It was only like 350 pages, which is a very short for Brandon Sanderson's books. In this book, we follow Wax and Wayne, and they have to basically solve a mystery regarding trains. It is extremely interesting because you don't know what is going on, and you get to see how they solve this mystery. There is a lot of great humor in this novel, and the thing I liked the most was seeing how the characters from the previous trilogy were considered either gods or mythological creatures, and how they have started religions based on them, and how they call them different names than the real ones. I cannot wait to keep reading this series, and if you have read the original Mistborn trilogy, I really encourage you to pick this book up. The only thing I didn't like about this book was the end battle scene. It was extremely long and it dragged a bit. I don't really like fighting scenes, and you know, in the Mistborn books, they are quite frequent, but this one was particularly long. The next book I read was The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. I have a whole live show talking about this book with Heather, the Happy Booktuber. It is going to be popping up here if you want to watch all of my thoughts in depth. Here I'm just going to mention a few aspects of what I liked and disliked about the book. I gave this book 2 out of 5 stars. I didn't like it, unfortunately, because I wanted to love it, but I found that the writing style was a bit confusing. The plot was all over the place. There was a lot of drama surrounding these characters, and the book was just very realistic, and when something could go wrong, it went wrong always, and I cannot stand when that happens in books. The next book I read was City of Lost Souls by Cassandra Clare, the 5th book in the Mortal Instruments trilogy. As you may know, I am rereading all these books before Queen of Air and Darkness comes out. I am not going to be able to finish them before then, but I at least tried. This was my second favorite the first time I read this series, but now I didn't like this book nearly as much. I really prefer City of Fallen Angels and City of Ashes to this book, because basically I hated Clary in this book. She was so annoying as she made the worst decisions possible. She frustrated me in this book a lot, and I couldn't stand her. Like, oh my god, I hated her. I don't understand why she is so fucking stupid. Like, her decision-making skills are just the worst. But moving on to more positive aspects, I loved all the references to the Infernal Devices trilogy. My heart was breaking when one of the characters from the previous series appears here, and there are a lot of very obvious connections if you have read the other trilogy, but if this is the first time you read this, or you read this before Clockwork Princess, which is what I did the first time I read it, I did not pick all those Easter eggs, but having read Clockwork Princess, this book broke my heart. Like, it broke my heart. I also loved how the ending battle was very short and to the point, and it didn't drag as the one in the Mistborn book. Then I read A Gathering of Shadows by V.E. Schwab. I posted a reading log for the first book in this trilogy. It is going to be popping up here. If you have watched it, you may know that I did not like that book as much as I thought I would. I gave it 3.5, 3.75 stars. Recently, I have discovered that I don't enjoy hyped books as much as I did before. And yeah, this book surprised me a lot because a lot of people said that this was a filler book, that nothing happened, and yeah, nothing happened, but I loved that nothing happened. When it comes to fantasy books, I prefer slow books that build also the characters and not also the plot, although always my favorite part is the plot as well. But the main plot element in this book, which is a magic contest called Essentosh, is extremely interesting. I loved that portion of the book. In this book, we also get to know my favorite characters, who is Alucard Emery. I love him. I need an Alucard Emery in my life. Please and thank you. He is a pirate, and in the beginning of the book, we get some piracy scenes. And oh my god, that is what I was asking Victoria to do when I first read the first book. I needed to see some piracy, and we get it. We get it. I love how Alucard and Lila interact. I loved Lila a lot more in this book, and I was rooting for her in here. In this book, I find the same problems I had in the first one. They were not solved, so the magic system was not very well defined. I would have liked to know the barriers of this system. And also, in the Essentage, they use masks to compete, and that enabled some characters to participate in it while pretending to be other people. That was a very convenient way to solve this issue. I was not really convinced by that, but the ending product was really good. Also, I wanted to mention that everyone said that this book ended up in a huge cliffhanger, and it didn't. In the live show they did for this book, everyone was saying how they had to wait for a year, but I could wait for a year because the ending didn't surprise me, because we follow a storyline throughout the book, and with that I basically predicted the ending. Like, it is not something surprising, it is something you expect once you read that story. I was expecting more of a plot twist, and it was a cliffhanger. I expected something that would completely change the situation here, and no, it didn't happen that way. Then I read Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. This is my second time reading this book, and I liked it a lot more than I did the first time. I am recording a reading vlog or book diary as I am reading this series with all of my predictions and all of that, so I am not going to be explaining a lot about this book. Basically, in this book, we follow Selena Sardothian. She is a slave in the Endovier salt mines. She's chosen by the Crown Prince to compete in a tournament to basically become the king's champion, which is basically his assassin. So she goes to the royal palace and she enrolls in this competition that she tries to win. I like this book more than the first time I read it, and I cannot wait to keep reading this series. The last book I read was The Shadowhunters Codex by Cassandra Clare and Joshua Lewis. This book is basically the book the Shadowhunters read when they become Shadowhunters. Here we have an explanation about their society, about all the demons and all the downworlders. The book is full of pictures and also commentaries from Clary, Jace, and Simon. Let me find a page with their comments. For example, here you can see how they wrote in the margins of the book. And yeah, we also have a table of what all the runes mean. And unfortunately, I did not like this book. This is a reread for me, and I did not like this book. I gave it only 3 stars. It was very slow to read, very dense, and basically all this information you already know from the main books, so it was a little bit repetitive. The one thing that I want to point out is that this book is gorgeous. Look at these, and also the end pages are amazing. Like, hello. Those were all the books I read in the month of September. If you have read any of them, tell me in the comment sections down below. If you liked the video, give it a huge thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.